Mics are hot. There we go. What is going on, Penn State football fans? Hardcore Penn State football here, breaking down Penn State's 56-0 blanking of Kent State. We have a lot of your fan questions to get through. We do have a decommitment to quickly process. And we can start maybe preparing for Illinois. All that and more in this week's episode of Hardcore Penn State Football. Please make sure you've liked the video if you're watching on YouTube and you've subscribed wherever you may be listening or watching this show. Welcome into Hardcore Penn State Football. I'm Cory Lestochi. With me, as always, the great Shawn Kane. How you doing today, Shawn?
Not too bad. Great day on Saturday. Not a good day for my football team on Sunday, as the Dolphins threw up all over themselves. So really, I was on two different sides of a blowout this weekend. On Saturday, I saw my team have statistically maybe their most dominant performance ever. And then on Sunday, I had a team that looked as lifeless as Kent State, but it's the NFL, so you're not going to lose 56-0. So got the best of both worlds this weekend for my football teams, and my fantasy team lost.
Nice. That's nice. I think I'm going to end up going 2-1 as long as Scary Terry doesn't go off for like 30 points.
Yeah.
But no, Penn State broke a school record. 700, was it final 718? I forget exactly what they came up with, but broke the total yard record, broke the number of first downs record. I think they had 40. A impressive performance by the Nittany Lions, regardless of who the opponent was. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that throughout the show. Shawn, I just want to lead with the biggest news. I don't want to bury the lead too much here. Met up with our boss on Friday and picked up, if you're watching live on the show, you'll be able to see, picked up this baby right here. Little blue and white bourbon from Hidden Still Spirits in Hershey. This guy right here is seeing a generous portion of the proceeds going to Penn State's Nittany Lion NIL fund. So if you're in the mood for some bourbon, as I typically am, go get yourself some blue and white bourbon from Hidden Stills Distillery. I know they ship, so you don't have to worry about that. I don't know if they ship to every state, but they do ship. And it's another way you can help out the NIL. Because if you're like me and I struggle to just throw money at NIL just to throw money at it, I kind of want something back. A little bit of a buzz is a good place to start, in my opinion.
Benefits everybody.
Yeah.
Hurts nobody.
Well,
almost nobody, but
it's pretty good as well. That's my first sip right there. So
there we go.
I didn't know if I should cut it with ice or not. I did because I didn't know what to expect. I don't want to start dying. I don't drink bourbon straight that often, so I didn't make sure.
I was gonna say I didn't know how. Wow, that was a live test, huh?
That was a live test.
And you did not even grimace.
No grimace. It does not have too much of a bite, so that's good.
Yes.
Anyway, I'll be drinking that throughout the shows probably until I run out, and then maybe we can get some more. Shawn, I do have a second bottle, so I can, whenever you're able to make it, we can figure out a way to get you one if you want, or
yes,
I can just crush them both myself and never give you some. We'll see. We'll see what happens. You can mix it with your Diet Dr. Pepper.
That actually sounds like it would be very bad.
I don't know. I feel like somebody probably does something like that.
Yeah, I know my dad was very excited by the sponsorship because he's a big, he loves old fashions.
Oh, I love old fashions too.
So yeah, as soon as I told him, he was asking me all about this thing. So
there you go. Well, I'll try my very best not to crack open that next bottle.
Fair enough.
All right, so Penn State wins convincingly. We knew Penn State was going to win. Shawn, probably what I'm most bummed about was that they had 8 different players score a touchdown on Saturday, and that was my prediction, my bold prediction for the Bowling Green game. It was 7, but point being, I was sniffing in the right neighborhood. I just wasn't quite in the right ballpark, and a little upsetting that happened, and then people are making a big deal about it because I was all over that, and I just chose the wrong game. But what are you gonna do about it? But
want to make a note about Bowling Green?
Yeah,
26-20. They played Texas A&M this past Saturday.
Yep.
And they lost only by 6 to Texas A&M. They lost by 7 to Penn State. So that goes to show me Bowling Green has a pretty damn good team. So
I would say so.
I think we could feel a little better about what we saw a few weeks ago against Bowling Green. Still wish we played better. Could have played better, but makes it a little bit more easy to digest.
Oh man, I didn't see if I can edit this. There we go. See if that works. Yeah, no, it does. I mean, imagine if A&M would have
if they whooped them,
got blown out, or A&M would have blown out Bowling Green. Yeah, then you're kind of a little bit more nervous there. I will also say that if you were listening to the show on Thursday, I would have told you to bet on that game because I think the spread was like 23.
Yeah, it was way too high.
And you would have made some money. So missed opportunity there if you weren't paying attention. Did a lot better, Shawn, if you're worried about me this week. Ended up, I think, 7 for 10 on my bets this week. Huge rebound. Rebound. I haven't put the number to my spreadsheet yet as far as where I'm at percentage-wise, but should be closer to 60% again. So
I was getting worried about your house.
You should. I would have to start recording at your place. So
you'd be moved in with me.
No, but Penn State was able to spread the ball around, get a lot of different folks involved, especially defensively towards the end. All those things were good. We have a lot of fan questions, I think, Shawn, to direct a lot of the show. But I guess what was maybe one thing that came out of this that you wanted to make sure you got to say early on here?
Well, I think it's fair to say that Drew Allar's for real. And I know you'll say, well, look at the defenses he's gone against. Yes, and I also saw we went up against crappy defenses last year, too. And taking the West Virginia game out of it, he wasn't making these throws. And even in the West Virginia game, he really wasn't making these high-level throws. Going and sometimes picking the tougher throw, the riskier throw, and still trusting his arm, trusting his guys enough to go and make plays. And I say guys, plural, because everybody got in on the action on Saturday. Liam Clifford made some plays. Tyler Warren, of course, is Tyler Warren. Omari Evans continues to stay really hot. So a bunch of guys got in on the act, and that was very encouraging to see. So I think it starts with Drew. And, we talked about in the off season how Drew's got to get us there. And he's got to show that he took some steps, and he has. And we're a quarter of the way through the season right now. He is 5th in the country in QBR. He is 2nd in the country, or 1st in the country in QB efficiency. So he's doing really what we need him to do. And yes, things get ratcheted up this week, and things are going to be tougher. I respect the hell out of Bert, as we call him on this show. But I think you gotta be really encouraged by what you've seen from Drew Allar on a weekly basis.
Yeah, I agree with everything you said there. Specifically, the fact that, Shawn, you came into the season wanting to see that confidence build. I know some people may even come after us a little bit because they thought we were maybe naysayers of Drew Allar. I think it was fair criticism at the time, and still believe it to be true. What you had said, though, I think resonates the best, where your main concern was between the ears.
Yep.
And I think he has answered a lot of the questions you may have had and kind of responded extremely positive to what you were hoping it would be. I mean, there's no doubt about it. He said he was going to be more confident, and he had a lot more confidence, but that's oozing out of him, and it's very obvious. The one throw, and maybe we'll do some film room on Thursday, Wednesday. Man, I keep messing that up. But the one throw, two throws actually, both to Julian Fleming over the middle of the field were just thrown with a lot of confidence. Even a throw to Clifford in the end zone, thrown with a lot of confidence. There's a different kind of side to Drew Aller than we saw last year. We thought that was going to be the case after West Virginia, and to your point, I think we can now agree that is not just a one-time thing, and that isn't something that it takes to play a good team to see. We didn't see that when he played against some other of the weaker opponents, like you mentioned. So I'm with you. I think he has answered the bell as far as those concerns. He's got some confidence. He's got some mojo right now.
Like, remember Nate Bauer. Nate Bauer made the point on their post-game show by Blue White Illustrated that think about after the UMass game last season. Did anybody think that the offense was fixed? No. Now, we won by about as much as we did on Saturday, but it was just night and day different because we were still running the same plays to the sideline, inside zone, play to the sideline. It felt like we were running the same 4 or 5 plays over and over because we were. And it's a whole different feel to the offense. And, these points, especially in a game where you're playing against a team that just isn't up to par with you, you're going to probably beat them by 40 plus points just because if nothing else, you just match up so much better than them up front. But they're not all created equally. And when you look at the yardage that we had and the yardage differential that we had, that's really what you want to see if you're an actual bona fide contender like we want to be.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point too. I mean, I never would have expected to see Tyler Warren line up at quarterback against Kent State. I mean, it's just they treated this game differently on offense than they did the UMasses, the Delawares, the Villanovas of the world. No doubt about that.
Yeah, and there's a couple schools of thought, and one of our favorite questions that we get, like in
I think
November,
we have that. I think we may have that question already tonight.
I think this is already the second time we've gotten this year, and you already know what I'm going to say, and I haven't even said it yet. Are we holding something back? Well, we didn't hold the Tyler Warren package back where he lines up at quarterback. No. I mean, we saw that on Saturday. And there's a couple schools thought about this. Do you keep things really vanilla against teams that going into the week, the coaching staff, that they know they're going to beat Kent State? They may not tell the team that, but they know, and that's how they're going to game plan. Or do you put it on tape so it gives Illinois something more to think about? And we chose to put it on tape, and I think that's fine because that's more time in Illinois' preparation that they have to take up. They're already having to think about Tyler Warren and be obsessed with wherever he is on the field. Now they have to worry about him lining up a quarterback.
Right.
I like it. I think it's smart.
I don't think you can honestly prepare for all the wrinkles ahead of time for Andy Kotelnicki's offense. Right. Like, you just can't. If you spend all your times, or all your practice time focusing in on the Tyler Warren package, the Bo Prabula package, whatever that swinging gate play was going to be before the timeout, you don't have enough time to practice all of the nuances because you still got to figure out how you're going to stop Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Drew Aller, and then the wide receivers and the normal offense. So I think it's fine to add those more additional wrinkles and get those guys just thinking more. The more they're thinking, the less they're moving, the less action they're taking. So I think that's excellent. if it just makes them a second slower or one step off, we've seen that that's enough to break Nick Singleton for a long run, and that's all you need. So I think it's excellent. Before we get to the fan questions, Shawn, I wanted to just go on a little bit of a rant here. We're talking with some folks on X this weekend, and a lot of people, kind of what you had mentioned a little bit ago, had spoken about, well, did it really matter? Did we really get anything out of this game, or can you take anything away from Kent State? Because it doesn't matter what they do against Kent State. Can they do it against Ohio State and USC, etc.? And to their point, they're a little bit right. This team is going to be judged. This offense is going to be judged on what they're able to do against USC and Ohio State and company. I totally understand that. However, I do not live my life by just basing my Penn State fandom, my football Saturdays off of just playing Ohio State and USC. We took a lot away from this win, but it was also a fun win. It was a good time. We shut out an opponent, and we got to see 8 touchdowns in Beaver Stadium. I think to a certain degree, you got to remember to enjoy these things, because you only get 7 home games a year. You only get 12 regular season games. Make sure you are enjoying all of them, not just looking ahead to Ohio State and USC. The coaches have to do those kind of things. The best part about Shawn and I's job is we get to enjoy every single play and every single opponent. And yes, that doesn't mean that we know that just because they happen to be doing well against Kent State, they're going to be able to do that against USC or Ohio State. But that's okay right now. We will find out one way or another in a couple of weeks whether or not their offense is capable of hang out with the elite teams in the Big Ten. In the meantime, let's enjoy what we were able to see. This offense did not do it against teams last year, good or bad. I would argue they wouldn't have been able to put up 56 in the way that they did last year, that they did this year. The clock management, especially at the end of the half, was a thing of beauty. They did such an excellent job of scoring. When I went back and watched the game with the commentators, and on the first touchdown, they're like, oh, yeah, Penn State's got plenty of time to score a touchdown here. And what ended up happening was they scored the touchdown, got a stop, got the ball back, and scored another touchdown. Like, the commentators weren't even thinking about about Penn State scoring a second touchdown. And that's what they were able to do. It was a thing of beauty. You can take something away from that they were able to perfectly execute clock management and the 2-minute drill right before the half. And I enjoyed that, and I will continue to enjoy those things regardless of whoever Penn State's opponent is.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna obviously take more out of the Illinois game. Yeah, of course. But I think whenever you do something that's never been done before, it's pretty cool, because Kent State isn't the first bad team to come at the Rolling a Happy Valley. We've seen a lot of them over the years.
They're not going to be the last either, based on the schedules for the future.
Yeah, we don't play anybody out of conference for like at least 6 years. So like, they think the toughest team is Syracuse, and then we really have to start thinking about Temple. And the Frank Charles Hops too, at Marshall. But yeah, it's anytime you're able to do that, it's pretty historic. Now, of course, are we going to get more out of the game coming up? Yeah, but I think a lot of fans, and I mean, I get it. And look, we talk about it all the time on here too, about how we struggle against really good teams, but this isn't something new for us. And if, God forbid, we lose to Ohio State in a couple months, we'll be talking about it again. But this isn't the show for that right now.
Plenty of time to do that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we'll devote like 2 shows to it if they end up, losing Ohio State, because that's what we do here. But the thing is, then one of the things that I think Cory and I do a good job of doing is being balanced. And everybody says they're balanced. Everybody says, oh, I'm a realist. Well, I'll let you guys in on a little something.
Oh,
A
here
lot
we
of times
go.
when people talk about how real they are, they're not. That means they are negative and they feel like they're the truth tellers in the room and nobody else is brave enough to tell these truths except me. But then they don't tell the truth when something good happens, where will. We will tell you this is good. We'll also tell you something's bad. Now, a lot of people they don't like they don't like that. They don't like they don't like being like that. They don't like being 50-50, and it's not even 50-50. It's about telling it what it is. If you're a fan of the Miami Dolphins, I'm not going to tell you 50% of it's good because it's shit right now.
I knew
You
this was going
know,
to come into it somehow.
there's nothing good with the Miami Dolphins right now, and I'd be ranting and raving for like 3 hours about them. But you got to call the good with the bad, and that's what I think we do a really good job here. And not to toot our own horn or anything, but I really do. So
Been
that's what
doing a
you're
good
gonna
enough
get here.
job to have 151 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. And you guys keep watching, so thank you.
Absolutely. Let's get into the fan questions. And if you have some questions on YouTube, you can also throw them in the chat. We might be able to get to those today too. Not an overly crowded show today. Alrighty. Let's actually not start with a fan question. Let's start with this cool moment brought to us by Mudbug. And I don't know why I say Mudbug like that, but that's just how I have to say it. This is from Mudbug. Not a question, but cool fan moment to share. Got to take my son, almost 2, to his first Penn State game with his mom, grandma, and papa. He loved it, and he did great. Stayed the entire game, which not a lot of you did. Just an awesome experience, and loved every second of it. Mudbug, congratulations, man. That's fantastic, and that is why there are some good things that come out of playing Kent State. In fact, Mudbug's kid was able to hang out in the stadium a lot longer than a lot of the fans that left. But I really cool moment for you. And I think Mudbug's doing pretty good on the pick'em as well.
That's
and
balance right there.
just glad you're able to have that moment because that's fantastic. In fact, I wasn't 2. He's already your kid's already way ahead of me. You know, my first game was I think I don't know 8, 9. And it was against Youngstown State. So these lowly opponents, people complain about them, but usually the tickets are a lot cheaper. And it's an opportunity to get kids that care, but maybe don't necessarily remember, give them a chance to get to some of these games as well. So that's really cool to see.
Yeah. I was one of those kids growing up. I didn't go to a ton of Big Ten games growing up, or a lot of big games growing up. I would go to the Kent State games. I was at a few UCF games when I was a kid. USF, Youngstown State. Those were the games that, when you have 3 boys growing up, you can only afford to go to so many. So, yeah, totally hear that. And that sounds like an awesome times. Really happy for you, Mudbug 717.
Before we get to the next one, we'll answer this question from Tim Ray on YouTube. How scared would you have been if you were Kansas State's backup coming in after its starter got carted off the field 23 seconds in? Well, speaking of that, he did end up going to Nittany Hospital. The starter did, which I saw someone say that they thought it was a dislocated hip. I didn't see that being confirmed, but somebody on X said that. Take that for what you will. I'm just potentially spreading false information at this point, but I did see that on Twitter, and you obviously believe everything you see on Twitter. And then the next guy, when I watched the game over, Shawn, looked, and again, I'm not a medical professional. Do not take this as medical professional advice. Looked like, I mean, maybe an ankle, but I thought honestly it was like an Achilles because there's a non-contact injury and he was holding like his ankle heel area, and I'm just thinking that looks like a torn Achilles. Again, I don't know anything about medical anything, but Kent State lost both of their quarterbacks, and I would be very frightened because of the way Abdul Carter was playing. I would be and I think they just ran the same play pretty much the entire game. Just a run up the middle, run up the middle, run up the middle. Kind of was like Joe Paterno, up the middle, up the middle, up the middle punt, because that was kind of what they were doing.
Yeah, it was. They were just totally outmatched up front. And even though we got off to a bit of a slow start, I just knew up front they couldn't block Zane Durant. Like he was just
No.
in there every play. And then, like you said, the edge guys too. Abdul Carter had an awesome game, and DDS unfortunately sent their guy to Nittany Medical Center. So,
Well, I guess let's just stick with the injury thing for a second here. Let's just get this one out of the way. Unfortunate news. Cam Wallace, who I thought he was going to go for crazy yards in this game if he was able to stay out there. This question's from Lion for Life. Is Cam Wallace a long-term injury? Very scary how his leg was bent. Answer that question first. We haven't got an update yet. It did not look good when I rewatched the game. I'll get to something in a second, but no, let me just get to it now since it's on top of my mind. It may not seem like a lot or seem very important to some, but that moment of Amin Vanover and Hakeem Beeman, and there's two others, I don't remember all of them who were out there, but the fact that they came on the field to help carry Cam Wallace off was a special moment for me. I'm not knocking Kent State here, but there was a moment where a Kent State player, when their quarterback got hurt, nobody helped him off the field. And I'm not saying, oh, Kent State sucks, Penn State's awesome, but there is a difference there. And those guys went out there and they got their guy and they brought him back. And that meant a lot to me. And obviously probably meant a lot to Cam Wallace. I think that kind of shows you some level degree of brotherhood and camaraderie. And I just wanted to make that point note. I thought it was a really special moment. Hopefully Cam Wallace can get healthy. But to me, just seems like there's a little bit more of a connection there, some chemistry there. Again, that was an offensive player being carried off by defensive guys. So that a lot of times in college, the offensive guys stay on one side, the defensive guys stay on there. Clearly they got some unity there. And that was really nice to see.
Yeah, very nice. It got a big applause too from the crowd. I mean, fans love that. And they should, because it's the sign of definitely the sign of a healthy culture and a good team. And team means a lot of things, and one of them is if one of you go down, you go and help them up, and you do what you can. So yeah, it was very, very touching, and that's something you see a whole lot of, to be completely honest,
especially in the era of NIL.
Yeah, and I was a little I remember going. I actually I think I might have even said it to my fiance. I was like, why didn't they get the card out for him? He could barely walk. And then the guys came out, and I was like, well, there you go. And he did end up getting carded to. He ended up getting carded to the tunnel, thankfully. But yeah, his injury did not look promising, unfortunately. I didn't really see the way his leg bent. It was hard for me to tell from up where I was. I was way up in the blue seats. But yeah, I didn't really see the way that his leg went. And then I'll just answer the last question too. Who looked the best out of the freshmen that got playing time? The thing. Honestly, I think I'll talk about a few guys. Dajuan Lane. I thought he looked a little confused at times, but he didn't make any mistakes. And granted, Kent State, I don't think they really tested him that much. But T. Frank, if you follow T. Frank on Twitter, Thomas Frank Carr, he did a breakdown on one of the plays that Dajuan Lane had helped create, and it was an Abdul Carter sack, and it was just him staying home and being disciplined and reading the receiver correctly. And I thought it was a very, very good point by T. Frank. So those are the little things that you look for, and I was encouraged by that. And then Luke Reynolds had arguably the play of the day with the catch going up and if it wasn't for Tyler Warren's one-handed catch along the sideline, I think Luke Reynolds, it would be a clear number one play of the day. when he went up and climbed the ladder to get that ball.
Yeah, I would agree with all what you just said there. I'll probably just give it to Anthony Spetka, though. Ended up leading the team with tackles, 5 tackles. Our one buddy Higgins kind of made the Dan Connor reference. I'm kind of getting a little bit more of a Glenn Carson vibe from him, but he has time to I guess change his comparisons. It's early, but he stuck his nose in there really well and wasn't afraid to come up and make some plays. So really excited to see that. Excited to see him out there doing some good things. I also just want to quickly say, Deny Dennis Sutton and Keziah Izzard were the other 2 that helped Cam Moss get off the field. I wanted to make sure to get them some recognition there too. All right, let's go to a question on YouTube. This is from, but hold on a second. We kind of have 2 questions back to back that are very similar here. Kent says, who wins the line battle during the Illini game? Penn State's offensive line or Illinois' defensive line? And then Tyler Huffman says, do you think our defensive line creates havoc against Illinois' offensive line this week? So, Kent, I'm going to hold your question till the Wednesday show. But, Tyler, I am going to answer your question because I just dug up the statistic earlier today that I was curious about that specifically. Illinois is allowing 6 TFLs per game. They are 101st in the nation. Penn State, by the way, if you're just curious about that, to maybe answer a little bit of Kent's question here, Penn State comes in at 7th. They've allowed only 9 TFLs on the season, 3 per game. So take that for what you will, but hint, hint, nudge, nudge. If your offensive line is struggling a little bit with TFLs and you have to come play in Beaver Stadium at night, that may cause additional problems for you. Let's go to another question that we got on X, and then I'll answer Tim's question about Luke Reynolds. I almost called him Liam Reynolds. Okay, this question, I think we just need to clear this up. I don't think this will take too long. This is from Shawn Clifford, or Cliffer, I guess.
I thought Cliff was...
What do you make of the way Franklin left the press conference post-game? It seemed out of character for him to get rattled by that question. Don't want to be that guy, but was he already PO'd? But was he not already PO'd about the penalties? I think he had some sarcasm, Shawn, to answer it just bluntly. I don't think he was actually that mad. I think he is, disappointed with the penalties, and I think he does want to get that fixed, and that's probably the largest point of emphasis that coming out of this game is that's still a problem. Specifically, the lining up in the neutral zone. And it's not just one guy doing it, although Bill Carter does seem to do it a lot. I mean, Vanover's done it a couple times now too. So that definitely needs to be fixed because that's just free yardage, cheap yardage. But I don't think Franklin was actually upset about it to the point of that was the last question anyway, so that's why he left. But he wasn't that angry that he left the press conference.
Yeah, it was the last question. I think he's mad about that. I think he's mad about the penalties. I don't think he's mad at the reporter or anything for asking about it because it's more than a fair question. I think James Franklin knows that's a fair question. But yeah, he's not happy with the penalties, but I think it was a little. I think he was I think part of it was tongue in cheek though, with like the level of aggression with how he left.
Yeah, I agree. So I just want to clear that one up. Let's go to another one here. We'll go to this one next here. This one is from Will Gamble. Why did they not put Grunkmeyer in? Just to keep Bo Prabila happy? I don't think that's the reason on its own. I think it's twofold here. One, I did hear a rumor, again, not confirmed, that Grunkmeyer wasn't completely healthy and that he was there in case they needed him, but he would prefer not to have played if needed. Could be completely wrong, but I want to throw that out there because I heard that piece of information. The other part of this is I still think Bo Prabila has a lot to develop as a passer. I like if we're gonna just fast forward a year here and talk about who the quarterback is next year, assuming Aller leaves, which we actually have a fan question on that in a second. I think Bo Prabila has a lot of work to do to be a good enough passer to be the quarterback. There was a couple of passes. Let me just give credit where credit's due. He had a hell of a pass to Tassir Denmark late in that game.
Yep.
Ran that play a little bit later and he missed them, but that one throw was perfect. But he also kind of had a couple bad throws. The one to Cam Wallace, I was kind of behind him, stood out to me. He's got some development to do in the passing department. So I think he is your backup. If something were to happen to Drew, which it's a long season, at some point, inevitably, I think Drew does get at least a bump and a bruise. You got to make sure Bo Prabila, who you know is a very good runner, is capable as a passer. So I don't think Bo Prabila has gotten that many reps. And also, Andy Kotelnicki hasn't been able to see Bo Prabila get a lot of reps himself yet. He's seen some film, but this is the first time he really got to see a lot of Bo Prabila. And so I think it was good in that portion as well.
Yeah, I would have liked to see Gronk get in too. Who knows what's going on there? I was actually just about, and I'm happy I did it. I was going to tweet that Gronk is warming up because he was. That whole second half, he was warming up on the sidelines like he was about to go in and then just never went in. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't really think it's to keep Bo happy. I just don't think that's what their logic is. I think they just wanted, like, kind of like what Cory said, to just get more reps for Bo. I wanted to see Bo. I wanted to see Gronk though, just to kind of see what he's got. But if he's not healthy, he's not healthy. But then you have to think, Cory, like, how many more opportunities are we going to have to see him? Like, maybe we blow UCLA out, maybe we blow Purdue out, but there aren't a whole lot of there aren't any blowout guarantees left on the schedule once you get into Big Ten play. I mean, there'll probably be one or two here and there, but not a whole lot, especially not to get to your third string quarterback.
So we blow Ohio State out at home.
I mean, that would be lovely, but we could party like it's 1994.
No, I see your point. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with what you're saying. That's why, to me, I feel like he maybe wasn't good to go. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's not like Bo doesn't play it. We've never seen him before. But like did you find it weird that, not weird because I understood why we did it, but it's 35-0. Bo comes in and he's with a lot of the ones, like Singleton was still in the game. And yeah, part of me was like, why is Singleton still getting the ball right now? Harrison Wallace was still in the game, and we all know about Harrison Wallace's injury history, and I didn't really get that much.
So for Trey Wallace, I see your point. However, I think it is vital that the backup quarterback gets reps with the starting offense. So I actually agree with them doing that, because it's hard to judge a quarterback when you have the other backups in. It's nice to have that comparison between your starting quarterback with the starting offense and your backup quarterback with the starting offense. I don't think they do that enough in the NFL with preseason games where they allow that to happen. I think that's a really, really, I mean, we don't see it enough in the blue and white game either, where they try to separate the quarterbacks like that. I think it's really good to do that because, again, you don't want Bo Prabila has to come in for 2 series against Ohio State. You don't want that to be the first time he's thrown the ball to Trey Wallace, which I know in practice it's not anyway. But there's something about having a drive or two, having him be in the huddle. There's something about that aspect of it where I think there's a benefit to it. Trey Wallace specifically, I want him wrapped in bubble wrap everywhere he goes. But I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just he plays with those guys anyway. Like, it's not like he never gets in as a backup quarterback. So I just don't think Nick Singleton needs to be taking hits of 35-0.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Tim Ray, and I'll get to your question in a second, but you had a comment that I also wanted to mention here because we're going to get to a next fan question. He says, Aller seems very accurate over the middle. That dart to Fleming in a tight window and perfectly led Clifford on that touchdown. These are NFL throws.
Yep.
We'll get the film room. I actually think that he kind of threw it to Clifford's wrong shoulder on the touchdown. He just threw it so hard that the Kent State guy wasn't able to catch it. I would actually like to see that ball led a little bit more if we're going to be nitpicky about it. But they were still the throw power he had on the Clifford touchdown specifically was very impressive. The spot on the Fleming throws over the middle were also very impressive. And I think your point about being accurate, yes, not only is he accurate over the middle right now, he is confident throwing the ball over the middle of the field. And that is a huge difference. A lot of times he wasn't willing to make those throws over the middle. And that to me, you could make the argument, Shawn, when the season's over and it's all said and done, that throw to Trey Wallace in the West Virginia game, Trey Wallace catching that football, which I know he should have because he literally put it right on, he pasted it on him. But that throw and catch for a touchdown may have provided all the confidence that Drew Aller needed, and it's continued to snowball ever since. I'm just throwing that out there. For example, if you go back to the Bowling Green game where Amari Evans had that drop over the middle, if Trey Wallace drops that ball, like Amari Evans drops that ball, but that's the first time Aller throws it over the middle like that, maybe you don't see the same Aller right away. But he has continued to gain confidence, and the receivers have continued to gain confidence where they're playing at a high level right now. And I think Drew Aller is not just trusting Trey Wallace. He's not just trusting Tyler Warren. He's trusting Omari Evans. He's trusting Liam Clifford. That's a good sign as well.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. This is from Lucas Powers. I'm assuming it's a little bit of a joke, but we'll answer it anyway. When will number 1 draft pick talk start for Drew Aller?
He plays well against Illinois and USC.
You think that's enough?
I think if he plays well against those two teams and we win both of them, and you go into Ohio State undefeated at home, yeah, you're going to start seeing mock drafts with him being up high. Because, look at the guy. I actually think it's a decent quarterback class, but I don't think there's an alpha in it. So, yeah, I think I think his name will just be added to the mix then.
Yeah. Well, there you go, Lucas Powers. Let's go to Tim's question there. Luke Reynolds can be a switch up X factor. He is the next great Penn State tight end. I guess there wasn't a question there. I'm sorry. I must have read that wrong. Very highly regarded high school recruit. See no concerns. Yeah, I think Reynolds is going to continue to improve as a blocker. But clearly, the athleticism is in full display. That catch over the middle was fantastic. And I want to give some love to Khalil Dinkins because I tweeted this, but Khalil Dinkins is a great blocker. And the play where Tyler Warren ran it, Khalil Dinkins had a great block. And I think that if you want to be a starting tight end for Penn State now, not throwing shade at Mike Gesicki, because Mike Gesicki was able to play without being a good blocker on pure athleticism. I think Luke Reynolds is as athletic as Mike Gesicki, but that's not good enough to start right away at Penn State. You also have to be a good blocker now, because guess what? You got 2 or 3 other guys that are almost as good, if not as good of an athlete as you, and you've got to separate yourselves in other ways. You cannot just come on the field now and just be an athletic pass-catching tight end. You have got to be able to block now, because you've got 1 or 2 other guys that can block and also go out and make big plays in the passing game, which just is awesome because it competitively grows your tight end room to be complete tight ends. And James Franklin harped on that a lot in the press conference, mentioned that Tyler Warren, is the best tight end in the country, and that it's not just about pass catches and yards and touchdowns, but it's about being a complete player when you win the Best Tight End of the Year award, the Mackey Award. And he's already beginning the advocation of it. And I don't blame him, because I think he's right. And I would even argue, not probably seriously, but Tyler Warren probably deserves some respect for potentially getting some Walter Camp acknowledgments and maybe even some Heisman acknowledgments. He's never going to have the stats to actually get close. But I do think he is probably a top 25 player in the country from just an athlete perspective, well-rounded player.
Yeah, he's obviously a special player, and Franklin doesn't really talk about that many guys like that. Like, just not something he does. He will promote some guys, but it's pretty rare for him to make those bold declarative statements. And then another, to your point about blocking, their coach is Ty Howell. And Ty Howell was not a tight end at Penn State. He was a center and a guard. So blocking is in his DNA, and I think that's something that he's trying to instill in all of his tight ends. Because really, the tight ends in like these guys that come in out of high school, a lot of them were never asked to block before, or very, very rarely, because they were so athletically gifted. They were just always going off of passes. Or in Tyler Warren's case, he was the quarterback. So they weren't really used to that. That's something that was almost entirely developed at Penn State with Ty Howell. So huge shout out to him. He's our hidden gem on staff.
Yeah, good point there. Good point there. We'll wrap that up by saying Kent said, I was just about the type he made a Gesicki-like catch. Warren should be a first tight end off the board, but is he first round talent? I don't know. First round's hard to get in there as a tight end. I think he's definitely a day 2 guy. I'd be surprised if he falls outside of the 3rd round. We'll see how he continues to develop. I could definitely see him going in the 2nd round as of right now. Speaking here from dear old white and blue, Tyler Warren likely will be public enemy number 1 in fill rooms going forward. How should we attack, assuming additional help beyond linebackers covering him? Well, I think the answer is already kind of in the film, dear old white and blue. Tyler Warren, they're going to continue to get him the football in different ways. They value him having the ball as a runner. Getting him the ball and letting him be in space is good for Penn State. He's great after the catch. So much that they will be willing to even direct snap it to him, as we saw on Saturday. They want to get him at least probably 5 to 10 touches a game, which is awesome for a tight end. But he will beat most safeties from a size perspective. He will beat most linebackers from a speed perspective. There's not a lot you can do. And if you decide to maybe play zone or something like that, he's very good at finding the soft spots there too. So it's going to be interesting to see what people do. But outside of that, I think it's a mix of formations that Andy Kotelnicki will use to get him some one-on-one matchups and to not leave him in one spot. We've seen him play on the line on an imbalance set, but still technically be eligible. He'll probably hide him in bunch formations, and we've seen him already in the backfield. Additionally, you got to continue to be able to stretch the defense. I think being able to stretch the defense is what creates those soft spots. And so having Omari Evans be able to take the top off the defense allows those throws underneath him. Those dig routes, those drive routes, those levels concepts really work well when the safeties have to respect the deep ball. And we've been able to see that. You got, Trey Wallace running a post, and you got Omari Evans running a go route. There's a lot of room left over from where those safeties are going to vacate. So to me, that's the best way. And those linebackers are going to continue to be focused on the run game, and the play action pass is going to be available to them as well. So running the rock with Nick Singleton and working play action in, and then making sure you're hitting your deep shots to keep the safeties honest is going to create a lot of opportunity for Tyler Warren, Luke Reynolds, Khalil Dinkins.
Yeah, happy you brought up Omari Evans. I was about to make that same point. So you think about defense goes, well, all right, our linebackers aren't going to be able to cover Tyler Warren, which is going to be true for about 99% of linebackers in the country. So you might see a safety, a bigger safety, maybe like a Jalen Reed type, go and, try to see what they could do on Tyler Warren. Well, that takes safety out. And that could potentially open something up for Omari Evans downfield. And think about what happened last season. We got a lot of questions about why the tight ends weren't more involved. Well, part of the reason they weren't more involved was we had no deep threat. So when you don't have anything that could take the top off a defense, you become very, very simple to defend. Even if you have 2 pro tight ends, which Penn State did last year in Theo Johnson and Tyler Warren, there were a lot of games that they would both only have like 3 or 4 catches. because between them, because we had no deep threat. We had nobody to go over the top, so they just bring everything in, and it's really not that hard to defend us, even when you have really good players, because you're very simple to figure out. Whereas having Omari Evans taking the top off the defense and having a confident Drew Allard being willing to uncork it, yeah, that really, really helps. And like you said, the run game cures everything. So it's been something that
run the damn ball.
It's been something we've been able to lean on so far this season.
Tim Ray says, also love Allard's decisiveness in the running the ball. Is that also more confidence? I would say yes. He is a load to bring down. Defensive backs might have to make some business decisions. I loved on that run to Allard. First of all, I loved it because my bold prediction was he'd have more rushing touchdowns than Bo Prabila, which he's currently up by 1 right now. But I loved it in the sense of they were running your triple option RPO there, where he could have ran it or thrown it to Tyler Warren. I think that corner knew Allard was going to run it. He just wanted to cover Tyler Warren so he didn't have to participate in trying to bring Drew Allard down. He's like, it's like 42-0. I'm not sticking my nose in there because that's not worth it with, 6'6", 200, whatever, 25 pounds, 30, 40 pounds, Drew Allard coming at me. I'm not interested in that fight. So I think, yes, he has some confidence, and he is going to be a problem for folks to bring down. Be curious to see how effective he is against better talent in the sense of DNs chasing him down. But when he's moving around the pocket and climbing the pocket very effectively right now. And he never did that last year. Okay, most of the time he didn't do it. He's climbing the pocket very well. Like Tom, if you ever want to see who's like really good at or who was really good at climbing the pocket, Tom Brady is probably the best ever at it. He is doing things on that spectrum, very far away from Tom Brady, but he is climbing the pocket. He is moving around the pocket to find a receiver, to buy time, not just to take off. And then he's deciding to take off. I think he'll be able to do that against better teams too. I don't know if he's going to be able to run away from defensive ends when he's on the outside sometimes, but the climbing in the pocket and then taking off up the middle, I think, is always going to potentially be there until teams, purposefully to take it away, make an effort to take it away.
Yeah, pocket presence isn't about being, super, super athletic. I've seen a lot of athletic quarterbacks have bad pocket presence. And then, like I said, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, they knew where to go, where to step. And also they had that clock in the back of their head too, telling them when to throw. So that's the reason why they had such long careers and they didn't get beat up too much. They knew where to step. They knew how to avoid big hits. And that's something that will also serve Drew well, not getting beat up.
Watch the Illinois-Nebraska game. Luke Altmaier, I don't know, has that level of awareness. There was one time where he got hit and he fumbled it, but there were multiple times where somebody was very close to doing that to him. Just kind of planting that seed in there that I think there's some opportunity for Altmaier to not have that same pocket presence, where there could be some opportunities for a strip sack at some point in that game on Saturday. Let's move to this next question here from Dorito Bandit. Opponent aside, the offense seems to be finding its stride. Given the fact that they are still learning a new scheme, do you think we are just seeing the surface of what this offense can be? Shawn, in a way, we got any little extra things up that sleeve over there?
Yes, I think we do at this point in the year. I think there's still quite a bit that we haven't seen from Andy Kotelnicki, partly because he's willing to try almost anything. And also, the defenses really didn't ramp up yet. I don't think anybody was too afraid of these first 3 teams. I don't think anybody was too afraid of any of their defenses, and I include West Virginia in that. This will be the first big test that the offense has. And you'll see more this week, I believe. Now, if people are still asking us this when we played Maryland last week of the year, I'll be like, no, this is it. But At this point in the year, we're only a quarter of the way through. Yeah, there's still some things that we could do, we could see. And yeah, I think they kind of are still scratching the surface. Now, I do think we've seen more of the playbook than some people realize, though. Because some people think that we just save all the good plays for Ohio State.
Saving all the touchdown plays for later.
Yeah, and that's not really how it works. I don't even think Dorito Bandit really. I don't think that's what he's saying. And he's listened to us for a long time, so he knows what we're getting at there with the whole what are they saving? And yeah, they're not saving all the good plays for that, but there's a thing or two, a wrinkle or two here and there that I'm sure that they're keeping, and you'll probably see a wrinkle or two this week. Don't forget, we just had a bye week.
That's right. Illinois is leading the country or tied with somebody leading the country with 7 interceptions. So something else to kind of pay attention to as far as can they continue to take care of the football.
Yep.
I think, we have one more question. It's a good segue here. I do want you to answer this, Shawn. Lucas Power says, anyone else annoyed fans are trying to make the Illinois game the whiteout? What has this incredible tradition turned into? Before I let you answer, Shawn, I will be very clear that James Franklin, if you did not see in the post-press conference, and I believe it was reiterated by James Franklin wearing a white sweatshirt today,
and the social media team
wants to see whiteout ellipses energy on Saturday. And wanted that to be the headline of all the beat reporters' articles. Shawn, are you annoyed that this game is trying to become a whiteout? Do you think this game should be a voluntary whiteout? Where are you at on this? How do you stand?
I am not annoyed. I think Penn State's trying to get every advantage that they could, and there's no secret that the whiteout is something that I think it's almost psychological that gives us a bit of an edge. And I am not bothered at all by it. I think where you have to start, because I understand you want to make it special. I get it. And typically that's a once a year thing. But Washington doesn't look that great. It's still early in the year. It's probably going to be warmer on Saturday. So the weather's still going to be nice, and we have a top 20 team coming into the stadium. So to me, it makes all the sense in the world for this to be. I think our friend Darian said this on Twitter: an organic whiteout rather than a voluntary whiteout or whatever you want to call it. So yeah, I understand it, and I am not annoyed. I totally get it. And if I were going on Saturday, I'll be at a wedding. I'd be wearing white.
I plan on wearing white as well. I do just maybe want to play devil's advocate a little bit here and say, I do think there was a point when I was, doing Nittanyville quite often. I was an officer with Nittanyville. We would meet with James Franklin, and I want to say it was a 2017 year, maybe it was a 2018 year. And he was like, I want every game to be a whiteout. And marketing was like, no, we can't literally do that. Like, it's not how this works. I don't know. There's part
information there.
There's part of me that thinks that it does diminish it to a certain degree if you have it every time. Also, you can't move it from Washington. There's people that literally bought the Washington tickets for that to be the whiteout. I think that'd be unfair to them. So you can't move it. I'm not necessarily against having two, and I would, I'm all for having it being a true night game. So I like that aspect of it. But someone else said on X today, there should only be a whiteout for when it really matters. And if the season doesn't have an opponent where it fits, it shouldn't even have one at all, which I don't think they would ever let that happen from a marketing TV perspective. But
I don't think it's that deep.
Yeah.
Like, that this is, we can't have it because none of these teams are worthy.
Yeah.
I don't think it's that deep.
But at the same time, and finally, it is homecoming this weekend as well. So, by the way, last time Penn State played Illinois ranked at night. Go ahead. Were you at that game? Why you got that fast?
2008, Penn State, Illinois, Juice Williams.
Yeah, I think Derek Williams had a return for a touchdown in that game.
Yes, he had a return for a touchdown. He caught one, and I think he ran for one too.
So there you go. History repeats itself.
Sir. You see that from Nick Singleton, hopefully.
Potentially. All right. I think that is all of our fan questions. A lot of them, I kind of like, that's been kind of driving our show lately on the recap shows. I think that's been pretty good so far in that sense. So that's that. I did want to mention UCLA officially a noon kick for the Stripe Out on October 5th. So that's the case there. Also, the Pick'em is already open. I got ahead of myself this week. You can already drop your Pick'em. I think last I looked, there was 11, 12 people already submitted their Pick'em for the week.
Yep, I just did mine.
Shawn, you already submitted yours. You've already locked yours in.
I better do better than I did last week, yes.
Yeah, you got a 9, I think.
Yeah.
I only got a 10, which we got some work to do. I think I'm at 52 and you're at 51. The leader's at 58 right now. There's a lot of opportunity here, but we got to stay in that kind of top little hunt there. We're not doing our best.
Got to pick it up.
I picked Illinois and I picked Michigan, but then I let my hatred get the best of me and I took Minnesota to beat Iowa.
Oh, yeah, I took USC, and the thing that hurt me too was I took USC to cover.
Yeah.
And I think I underestimated the champs a little bit here. So they got me.
A lot of people did that, if that makes you feel better.
Yeah.
I will say this, everyone across the board, I guess I could add up what the best score could possibly be right now. A lot of people are missing the double downs this year. A lot of people.
Yeah, that's why Vegas makes money.
That's right. And the people that haven't missed them are honestly at the top, because that makes a significant. If you've hit every single one of them so far, you would have gotten an additional 24 points compared to someone who hasn't.
Yeah.
Was that right? No, that's wait. So I don't do math on the show. You would have 8 more points than someone else, which if you look at it, Shawn, we're roughly 6 to 8 points behind the leaders. There you go.
Yeah. And then if you think, and I mild attempt at math, I think I got this one. If you pick the wrong team to win and they're your double down, that's 3 points right there.
Right.
That you miss. So you could be perfect the rest of the way. You're still going to lose. That's 3 points. 3 points is a lot in this. Like you said, there's only like 6 points between me and the leader, 7 points between me and the leader.
Right. If you miss 1 week, it's another good thing to say you can get back into it by just nailing your double downs.
Yep. Yeah, that's why it's there.
That's why it's there. All right. That's that. We covered that. Penn State did get a decommitment. Never have to spend that much time on it. But Penn State did lose a decommitment from Antonio Branch Jr. He went out to Boulder and visited Colorado this weekend. Colorado won on a Hail Mary play that got him to overtime, and then it won in overtime. Crazy game. And I guess that was enough to sway. He didn't get an offer from Colorado until September, and then he got out there like 15 days later. So it sounded like he was kind of just waiting for the offer from Colorado. Just based off of looking at that.
Yeah. Well, best of luck.
From Florida guy, if you forgot.
Yeah, have fun.
Not the place I would go, personally.
No, but want to join a reality TV show? Go ahead, have fun. It's only going to be there like 2 more months. I'm not mad or anything.
I'm glad I was able to bait that out of you a little bit.
Yeah, I'm really trying to hold back right now.
Okay, Shawn, what else am I missing?
You said UCLA game's a noon game. Illinois, they're trying to push that other whiteout. We got into that with the fan question. Is Gus and Joel? Is it going to be Big Noon?
I think it is.
I'm so against Big Noon kickoff, even though. Well, and the thing with, I would be so mad if I was a UCLA fan.
Yeah. Yep.
Like going. First off, you got to fly across the country. Which, hey, you join the conference. That's part of the thing. But you go out there and it's a noon game. Like, I just feel like they should never. I don't think the West Coast team should have to play noon games. Just in general, that's just my feeling on it. I think that's fair.
You could have Iowa and Ohio State's already set for 3:30, so that was maybe one of their only other options.
Yeah, just switch them. That'll be a better game anyway, I think.
Trying to see what else there would have been. There's not a whole bunch. Baylor at Iowa State, they could have maybe done. West Virginia at Oklahoma State. I don't think that's going to be 2 ranked teams by then.
Yeah,
I think Oklahoma State loses to Kansas State.
Iowa. It's like I said. I mean, at UCLA, I think they're in for a tough year this year. They're already in the middle of a tough year this year.
It could be honestly a better game that they probably should have done was Rutgers at Nebraska.
That wouldn't be bad either.
Yeah.
Because those are 2 interesting teams, both kind of on similar trajectories on the come up.
Yep.
Better storylines. They also, neither of them get Big Noon a whole lot, especially Rutgers.
Right.
I don't know. I think you could have had something there, but I would disagree with a lot of what Fox marketing says. So, because if I was in charge of Fox Big Noon marketing, I'd be like, first thing we're doing is getting rid of Fox Big Noon kickoff. We might make a lot of money on this, but I hate it. The Michael Scott thing. The Michael Scott me. Because I hate him.
We will be back Wednesday night. Hopefully going to be able to get Ron Redden on the show. And we will maybe do a play or two, a film room, and we'll get into Illinois. Prepare potentially for a homecoming whiteout.
Sounds good.
I feel like I'm missing something, but whatever. I'll just tweet it.
I think so. Yeah, we got the decommitment. Any question? Yeah, I think we're good.
One thing I'll just mention, not to throw a hand grenade, but
sponsorship too. We got
the sponsorship in there. Hidden Stills Distillery, blue and white, straight bourbon. Punt returner. Got to make sure you hold on to football.
Yeah, we might want to hang on to the ball. That's the main job of a punt returner, and we've put it on the ground how many times now? 2 or 3 in just 3 games. It's just not. That ain't good enough, and that'll cost us. So, got to get that fixed. Do we have anybody who could return punts outside of Caden Saunders, and who was the guy that got in late?
Spencer.
Yeah, I didn't even recognize him. Is like, if that's all we got, that's a huge concern, guys. If that's all we have to field punts.
Yeah. Well, Saunders isn't muffing him.
No, he just keeps fumbling. He could field them. He looked good on the one return.
Yeah.
Because he does have speed, but you got to be able to hang on to the football.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
Yeah.
Like, that's your main job as a punt returner, is making sure that the offense gets the ball.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a concern. Also, I wish we started faster. We looked very sloppy in the first quarter.
Yeah.
But
Well, they did start fast until the interception that.
Yes. Yeah. Sloppiness.
I guess I don't know. The interception was
It was a freak play.
It seemed very fluky,
Yeah.
but it did suck. But
yeah,
is what it is.
Yeah.
I will say this: they didn't get any turnovers.
No.
They didn't force any turnovers, and that is a little bit of a flag concern to me, orange flag concern, because they haven't gone crazy with the turnovers yet. And I just feel like you're gonna want to be able to create some turnovers. Asking your offense, that's why they had so many total yards, was because they literally had to go the entire field every time.
Yep.
And they were able to, and they deserve credit for that. They had some explosive plays. They went 8 for 10 on third down, which was a huge step in the right direction there. But you would have liked to see the turnover or two as well. And credit Kent State, even with their third string quarterback, they were able to take care of the football.
Yeah.
Also, Kent State wasn't pushing the ball downfield in any capacity.
Nah, they couldn't. Shout out Kent State's punter too.
Good punter.
Bombs. Yeah.
Yeah,
we kept starting inside the 20. I think I tweeted that out too. Like part of it.
Oh, they were dominating starting field position.
Yeah, part of it was due to some dumb penalties from us, but also their punter was just booming them. So kept us in bad field position. That's part of the reason we only had 7 points until halfway through the second quarter, because we were gaining yards. Like we had 150 yards before the end of the first quarter. We just weren't putting any points up because we had to drive. We had to drive so far, and then that's why field position is important. My friends.
Yeah. All right. Now I think we're good. I knew there was a couple of other things I wanted to mention.
There we go. Got him out.
Feel better now. Shout out to Tysier Denmark, had his first catch.
Yep. Look good. Looks fast.
Quentin Martin got his first couple carries as well. A lot of young guys played. Saw Wosley Jr. out there. I saw
a lot of Cooper Cousins.
Cooper Cousins was out there. I saw Max Granville playing a decent amount there.
Javen Williams
just got a penalty.
He got a couple.
We mentioned Specca. Tamir Robinson's back. He played some.
Yes. He got in pretty early too.
Yeah.
I think he's going to play quite a bit this year.
Harvey was in their defensive end.
Yep. Max Granville. He had what looked like a strip sack.
Yeah, he hit that guy hard.
Yeah. That was very close.
Who was there was a corner that made, Torre was out there as well.
Yeah, Babu Torre. Yeah, so pretty much felt like, and then even the young offensive lineman, Negan Boyer, got in for a couple plays. So yeah, a lot of guys got in. A lot of guys from the recruiting class last season. So it's always good when a lot of guys have
some tape.
Yeah, Tide Landing is strong too. I think I actually tweeted that out. That is a big man.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. There was somebody else I thought that I was going to mention, but now it's gone. How does somebody on? Oh, that's what I wanted to say real quick. I thought maybe we'd see more Nolan Ritchie at left tackle, but he kind of came back in for Donka. So yes, let Shelton
Donka didn't play a whole lot.
So Donka was in there, I thought, most of the first quarter.
Yeah, maybe that's what they were doing.
And then he did
he played fine. He wasn't pulled or anything, but
yeah. But I thought maybe we'd see more Ritchie at left tackle, and that was not the case.
Yep.
So I wanted to mention that as well. Let me just check here on the internet. Nothing crazy going on there. So I think we're good. Thank you to Kent and Tim and Tyler for some interaction on YouTube. We appreciate that tremendously. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like the video and subscribe wherever you're listening. And have a wonderful week. We will be back Wednesday at 7 p.m. Until then, have a good time.